Okay, now it's 4 o'clock and we have our Zine Club for October. It's Monday, October 28th. We're here 4 to 5 and we're here once or twice a month. So thanks to everyone for showing up. Today we have zine maker Steve, and we're going to hear all about Purple Passion zine from Orange County, California, and the process of the fanzine dedicated to 60s mod, ska, soul, 60s power pop, 1979 mod revival, and more. I'm really excited to hear all about your process. And thank you, Steve, for joining us. And take it away.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for inviting me and letting me yap and rant about my fanzine. Um, I did do a little PowerPoint because it will keep me focused on what to say and make sure some things I don't forget. Now, I'm sure most people have already are familiar with a lot of the things that I'm going to probably talk about, but I look at the club as maybe each meeting, maybe somebody finds one or two things that are new and they can incorporate it into their zine, which I think that's one of our goals, right? So, um, also what I've been doing too is I actually go to Fullerton College, um, and there's actually an art club there. I'm not part of the art club, but I got friends that are part of the art club. And what I'm presenting here, actually, I will be presenting Wednesday to the club. So we might get some more fanzine people more involved with the zines in the world. So, um, so again, my zine is Purple Passion, and as you were mentioning earlier, it's really dedicated to 1979 mod revival. But mod revival is still in existence. It's not as big as it was back in 1979, but it's still powerful and it's still big. But it also, the zine is also appealed to 60s mod, power pop, soul, 60s stuff. So you want to go to the next screen? So a little bit about me. As you can see, that's an old picture of me. I'm a friend Scooter. I'm a huge fan for music. So obviously my fanzine is tailored to music. Um, Even though my taste of music is pretty much all over the place, I do center down to a small section of the whole music spectrum to mod, ska, and power pop. I myself, I've been collecting fanzines that tailor to that scene for quite a few years. Um, I do have a little picture of some of the zines that I had collected over the past. And in the world of mod, ska, and PowerPoint, there's a lot of people that do collect that kind of fanzines. In fact, if you look mod zines on eBay, you actually will see some of them for sale. Some of them are a little bit out of my price range, but and they're all over the world too, from down under to, of course, England and of course throughout the United States. I did my first zine a couple years ago. It was cheesy. I would have to say it was bad, but I didn't know how to do it. And it was mostly some photos that I took, kept them up, handwritten. It was cheesy. I don't even have a copy of that one. The second one, don't have a copy of that one. It was a third copy that I still have. And now I'm like, I'll keep a copy for myself versus just sending it out to the world. So I've been doing it a couple years, but I went back. I would have to say I started making them a little bit better about with issue number 3. And that was maybe about 3 to 4 years ago. And it seems like it takes me about a year to do each one. Um, I'm slow at doing my zines. But one of the things that I do is I reach out to a lot of bands that I like and bands that I do not know. And I'm like, this band seems pretty cool. I like the way they look. I like their music. I'll reach out to them. Normally, I reach out to them through, of course, the internet. There's some websites like Bandcamp. There's the Instagram, and I'll reach out to them and I say, "Hey, I like your music, and I do an interview with you guys." And most of the time they're like, "Yeah, yeah, sure," because it's free advertisement for them. Um, and of course, finishing up with a little bit about me. My main reason why I do the zines is because it's fun. I don't really look at, making any money. Um, Part of me is it's a return back to the community of music of the folks that I like, the music that I like. And it's something that I give back to the community. So it's not really I'm looking for the passion here. It's something I love to do and it's a lot of fun. Let's go to the next screen. And that's some of the fanzines that I've been collecting over the year. My most prized one, you'll see it's maximum speed. There's like only 9 issues. And for like the mod world, they are the grail, the holy grail for the fanzines. So I'm still trying to collect all 9 issues and I'm at 6. So 3 more, find them. And I'm sure it's going to cost me a little bundle for those, but to me it's worth it because it's part of that 1979 music scene that I really, really like. And I still collect them all. Um, there's a couple places that I go online, music shops that I reach out and see if they have any of the zines that I try to collect. But I've noticed nowadays even eBay has them for sale. So think of this: if you're looking to try to sell your zine, maybe sell them on eBay because I go to eBay now and look to buy them too. So those are some of the zines that I've collected over the years, and hopefully I'll still collect more, which I'm sure I will. Next screen. Now my um, again, we've already sort of mentioned it. 60s mod, which of course that's like the bands, the Who, uh, Small Faces. There's a lot of other names out there for the 60s mod. 1979 mod revival. I don't know if anybody's heard the classic band was the Jam, which is one of my favorite bands from that time period, along with a bunch of other ones. And there's power pop, ska, and of course 60s music in general. As well as you can see a picture of the scooters. There's a lot of people who still love their scooters, um, and they'll dress them up with all those little lamps that you can see on their scooters. And the scooters were mostly like the Lambrettas and Vespas. I don't really do a lot of talking about scooters in my fanzine, but I do actually give free advertisement for uh, some people or some companies here in Southern California. I just do it for free because I'm like, they sell some cool scooters, and I'd like to see those scooters on the road. So I think it's great. Next screen. Now, I am a bit of a nerd. I like history a lot. Obviously, I like stuff from 1979, so that's history in itself. But yes, I'm a huge nerd for history. Um, and part of that history, I decided to look up the word magazine, the word, fanzine, where it all came about. So it's sort of a side note of really how to make fanzines, and it's more let's dive into the history of it. So let's go to the next screen. So actually, I went to Merriam-Webster's word origin and magazine, which I thought was interesting about the word magazine and where it came from. So magazine originally meant storehouse or granary or cellar. Um, it came into the early French dialect and then English. But the one thing I thought is interesting is I didn't pick up on it until when I read this. In military, a magazine is came to mean the storage place of gunpowder. So especially with guns and stuff that there's a magazine, which I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But I like the original meaning of like a storehouse. Um, and a fanzine is a storehouse of things that we like for fanzines. And the word magazine first appeared in around 1731 with a publication called Gentleman's Magazine. Now, I don't think I would collect that magazine, and that's probably not my cup of tea right there. Um, but let's go to the next screen. And that's what it looks like from 1741. I'm sure that's probably a little pricey little magazine, but I think what's interesting, the second part, the first fanzine. According to what I've researched, the first fanzine was called Comet in 1930. So we're looking at almost pushing almost 100 years worth of fanzines. Cool. Let's keep on. Let's keep with the fanzines. Um, so I don't have a copy of it, and from what it looks like, that Comet fanzine was a um, horror seller. I think it is. That's what I can read from it. So again, I don't have a copy of it. Does anybody have a copy of it? Does the library have a copy of it? um, but fanzines, of course, nowadays is the whole gamut. It's not just horror, but it's any and everything. I think our last meeting it was on cats, right? Is that correct? Yes. So we could be a fan of anything, and let's generate a brand new fanzine for it. And I'm sure there's a fan for everything that you can think of out in the world. So let's go to the next one. So again, I know I'm rehashing some things that some people already know. But what is a fanzine? It's usually a handmade publication, usually produced by fans for fans of uh, that particular performer or group or any form of entertainment. But it's more than that. Mine is more to groups and music and stuff like that. But a fanzine could be anything. Again, the last meeting was somebody, regarding to cats. And Diva, I know that you do your fanzines. So what are the fanzines that you do? I haven't asked you about that.
I like zebras, so my zines usually have zebras in them. So my zine title is Zebra Radar Zine. So I do more like collage scrapbooking. So whenever I see any kind of image of a zebra or sticker or stamp, I'll collect it so I could add it to my zine. But my zine is more like a per zine, so things I like music also, and anything I like, but then I'll throw zebras in it randomly. So it's like a zebra radar zine. So I have a radar for zebras.
That's cool. So hey, zebras. There's a fan for right there for zebras. And again, there's a fan for everything. Um, what else? Is okay. We can go to the next one. And I do have to believe there's no rules in zines. You can pretty much do anything with it. I do think the more playful that you make your zines, the more entertaining for the people who are going to be reading it. Uh, but of course, zines can be boring if you want to be. And I don't think anybody's going to read your zine if it's going to be boring. Um, the more creative that you can create your zines, and I'm sure this group can probably think of all kinds of fun, crazy things. And again, that's the great thing about this club that we have is to generate new ideas of make it more exciting. And I've done a couple exciting ones, which I'll show you what I've done. A little bit costly, but it's something that I wanted to do. And I'll show you here in a little bit in a little bit further in their PowerPoint. So let's go to the next one. Cut and paste fanzines. Have I done a cut and paste fanzine? Yes, that was my number 3 issue. I had stacks and stacks of old articles, and I sort of really wanted to put them all together, cut out, put it, arrange it the way I wanted it, a magazine of all the cool articles that I had. And I did that. It was huge. It was a huge one. But it was really, really cool. And I really sort of made that edition for a lot of friends and family because it was a bit costly to make that one, but it was really cool. Everybody that got a copy of it, they're like, this is cool. We love it. Um, but the one thing about cut and paste, I don't know if you heard about the Prince issue. Um, and I forget the name of the lady that took the photo of Prince. As you can see the picture in the corner, top right corner. There's a female. I wish I would have remembered her name. She took a photo, of really cool picture of Prince. The Andy Warhol decided to pick that photo, and as you can see, Andy Warhol did. And that's copy infringement. So that's one of the things that we have to sort of worry about. Um, and of course, she won the lawsuit. Cost her a fortune to win it, but she did win it. And I know there's a couple people who tried to do something with her same photo, and she smacked those people down too, because it's like those are her images. And that's the only thing that it's, especially if you're looking to go maybe that extra level. It's just something to worry about or to think about when you're using other source material. Um, I'm not an attorney at all, but it's just something I would just want to make sure people are aware of. And that's pretty much what this whole page is talking about. Again, I've done it, but I kept my that issue number 3 to tailor to just some friends of mine. I know that sometimes my zines do get copied and sent out further. I don't have any control of that, nor do I care. Again, it's more information that I love to see get dispersed further. So again, just keep in mind cut and paste fanzines. And I'm going to talk to you about how to sort of navigate that issue. Let's go to the next screen. Oh, it's going to be a little bit further. So this is my thinking. There might be some other thinking that you guys can contribute here, but the way I look at making a cool looking zine is trying to keep it in 4 identifications of writing, arts and photos. Not that you don't need arts and photos. It could just be pure writing, such as poetry, but writing, arts and poetry, photos, graphic design and layout, and making unique. Um, we can talk about each one a little bit. Uh, let's go to the next screen. We're going to get into the writing. Of course, does anybody have the old timey typewriter? I don't. So let's go right into good writing skills. I am horrible with my grammar. Absolutely horrible. I myself need Grammarly to help to clean up a lot of my grammar. And I know in this PowerPoint too, I need to clean up my grammar too. I stink at my grammar. Um, but if you're like beautiful at your writing, then skip that, continue on. But if you're like me, there are tools out there such as Grammarly, and I'm sure there's other ones out there that are free, but just think of your grammar because I should have put this in there. I remember reading this one comment. It was like something about grandma, let's grandma, let's eat dinner. And it's if you don't have the right commas or I wish I would put that in it because that's funny. Because it's basically if you don't put the right commas, the right grammar in it, it appears as if everybody's going to be grandma for dinner. Um, I'm going to find that. I'll add that later. But yeah, good writing skills are important, I think, because you don't want to look goofy. You don't want people to look and go, what is this person trying to write? Because guaranteed, if I didn't have Grammarly, people would be like, even my basic questions that I send out to the bands that I want to interview, I use Grammarly for that too, Grammarly, because I need to make sure that I sound good. But if anybody else has any other tools out there that they come across besides Grammarly, please add those in there because the more that we know about, especially free tools, the better for us. Let's go to the next screen. And again, I'm not saying that you have to have words in fanzines. They could just be pictures too. Um, I haven't done that yet, but uh, that would be entertaining, you know, just looking at pictures. Um, but for me, since I interview bands, I have to do words. And that's pretty much I'm just rehashing right here. Oh, I will point this out. The last one. Don't cheat. This is my pet peeve. Don't cheat and use AI to create your scene. That's just me. I think if you do that, I think you're cheating your your fans. Um, I personally think that it's better for you to write your own content. Um, and if you need to use some um, tools to maybe clean up whatever you're missing to make it a little bit more pizzazz, but to rely on solely with AI to create your zine, I think that's cheating. And I don't know if you've ever heard, I think it was Sports Illustrated. They got popped for using AI to write some of their articles, and they got slapped. I think it was Sports Illustrated. If anybody can confirm that. And yeah, it's it's cheating your people that you're making these fanzines for. So go to the next one. So arts and photos. That's actually one of my photos, one of my art pieces. So I actually do art myself. I think I'm a better artist than I'm a writer. So art, I don't need AI to help out. So fortunately, I can do my own art. Um, but if you do need art and photos to help out with your zine, let's go to the next screen. I do think art and photos in your zine, I think it helps out. Again, does it need photos and artwork in it? No, it could be just poetry. But I don't know. I think art and photos are a nice little anchor for people to look at real quickly and dive into your fantasy. But again, does it need it? No, because it still be just words. Um, Now, if you own your own art and photos, why sure, put those in there. Of course, not everybody's a photographer, not everybody's an artist. So there's a lot of people that need to dive into the internet or borrow things from friends. But if you do dive into the internet and pull stuff from the internet, just make sure it is public domain and that it's not copyrighted. Because again, you don't want to get in trouble. Um, and just because you see a picture on Google does not mean you can use that image for your own personal use. Most of those images do belong to a person, corporation, but there is a way to see if it might be possible that you can use that. Let's go to the next screen. And you can use Google. Google will help you out to see if there's a common licensed photo for it. I do have the little instruction for there, and that's the long drawn out written way of looking at it. Um, and it's an easy way to see if you can use that photo with no problems. And it's at your liberty to fill your fanzines with you know, unlicensed images. Go to the next screen. And right there. So if you use Google, click on images, and if you take a look, you'll see Creative Commons license. So there's three. It used to be a little bit different. When I did this PowerPoint, I remember it was done a different way before, but they've altered a little bit. So you basically want to use the Creative Commons license. That is images that are usually free to use, but they may require credit and have limitations on how or where they can be used. So even though it does say Creative Commons license, and it is, you can pretty much use it. There's still, I think, a little strings tied to it, but you're not probably going to get as in trouble as some of the others that are licensed. And I myself, I don't deal with anything that's with licenses, no. But usually I use my own photos for the bands. And sometimes I always ask the bands too. I'm like, hey, can you send me some photos so I can alter it? Because one of the things that I do like, and I'll talk to you a little bit about, I do like to alter photos, so I don't really necessarily use the photos that I'm providing with. But so again, when you use the Google, take a look at the Creative Commons license. And you're going to be probably, there's going to be less strings to use those photos. But let's go to the next screen. There are sites that have free images that you can use. So those are a couple of listings right there. Have at it, and you're going to be safe. You're not going to have to be worrying about, ooh, this is somebody else's photo, and are they going to get mad at me for using it? There are sites out there that are free. And I haven't tried all these sites, but give it a whirl, and you'll be safe using these free sites. And just log into Google and just type in free websites for free images, and should be good. Let's go to the next screen. Now, for me, as I said, I usually love to alter photos. Of course, there's Adobe products that you can alter photos, but that's a bit pricey out there. One of the things, my favorite things to do is taking a photo and love doing halftones. And I don't know how many of the folks out here have ever used and created halftone photos, but they're a lot of fun. And they look really, really cool versus just a regular photo. But if you don't have Adobe products, there's sites out there that are free to use. There's Pixlr, which I've used in the past. There are some other alternative ones. Just go and just Google free editors for photos. Now, if you don't want to do that, and let's say you do have Word actually has a built-in product where it can do some limited picture format. I've used it because it's really quicker to use sometimes than the Photoshops and some of the alternatives. You won't be able to do a lot with it, but test it out. So basically, next time, if you do have Word, throw the picture in Word and you'll see the tab uh, picture format. And usually, if you look at the remove background, correction, color, play around with it. You might find some fun things that you can do and alter the photo just to make a little bit something a little bit more unique for your fancy. Let's go to the next screen. Graphic design and layout. Now, I think to me, especially your first page, I do believe that you do need a killer layout. You need something that somebody walks by your booth, and if you have just this incredible layout just for the cover that pops out, I think those are important. Um, if you take a look at the three things that I showed you right there, the first one on the left side, I'm sure everybody's heard of what do you call it? The French Impressionism, not the French Impressionism, but uh, the French art. Can you help me on here? I can't remember the French, the very decorative art. Mooch. Um, I can't. It'll probably come to me. But the very first one is actually the Austrian version of it in the 1890s, 1910, Art Nouveau. There it is. So in each country, they actually had their own form of Art Nouveau. French is what we're familiar with, and it's very fluid and fancy and flowery. Um, but my favorite is actually the Austrian um, Art Nouveau, which they really dealt with a lot of cool lettering. And if you take a look, it's decorative, but not ultra decorative as the French. So that was one of my favorite style. To me, I just picked that one out just for you guys viewing. The middle one right there, don't know how many people are familiar with Dada art, which is around 1920s. Um, I love Dada art a lot, and part of it is just the way they placed all their images and fonts. And they're a crazy bunch of people, but I love the way they do their layouts. And of course, Bauhaus. Bauhaus was around the 1920s, 1930s, and it was basically an art school. And their stuff is really, really cool. The way that they dealt with a lot of fonts, unique fonts, and very graphic imagery. So I just picked three of those, just so you can take a quick look about how each one looks a little funny and unique. And I don't know if those pop out to you, but they sort of do pop out to me. And the last thing about Dada art is it's great for collage. And that's really one of the things that, and I don't have an example of great Dada work, but Dada isn't, they did take a lot of newspapers and whatnot, and they cut things up and they made great artwork. Um, but check it out on your own, and I think you might get some inspiration by Dadaism art. So let's go to the next one. A lot of this I was just talking about regarding the Vienna Secession, which is called, when you hear the word Vienna Secession, that is the Austrian version of the Art Nouveau. Art Nouveau. And there is one artist I can guarantee everybody knows, and he was an Art Nouveau person, and that was Gustav Klimt. I'm sure you're familiar with Gustav Klimt. He's the one that did that painting of a lot of gold all over the place. That's Art Nouveau. That is actually the Viennese Austrian's version of Art Nouveau. Totally different than the French. So again, take a look at that kind of style of art. You might get inspirations for, again, layouts. Um, oh, um, some of the things that I use for layouts too, I actually use Word for my layout. I find it to be easy. I can create boxes and rearrange boxes. So I'm not sure what other folks use for their layouts. So I'm sort of curious about that. But I'm sure there's many ways that there's cut and paste. That's an old school way of doing layouts, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like that look because it looks very 1970s for me. And again, I like 1979. So I like that look. But I'm sure there's a lot of tips that you guys have that we can compile and talk about. Let's go to the next one. Some graphic artists, and this is what I think is important to do, is look at other graphic artists. I listed two there in the photos. There's two different artists, but there's three different artists. So the top left, top right corners, I really like Alexander's way of layouts. I've been wanting to attempt to do the one of the lady. I think it's just a cool looking split with cool looking fonts. Something I want to try out. I haven't done it. The other person is William Blake. I love William Blake. He is an English printmaker and a poet. And technically, it's not a fanzine, but I bet you if he was born today, guaranteed the man would probably be creating fanzines. His artwork slash poetry, it's beautiful work. I don't know if you guys are familiar with William Blake, but check him out. It's cool stuff. Especially if you do poetry and you're like, I want to combine poetry and art together. Look up his stuff. It's amazing stuff. And even though his most famous line is "Tiger, Tiger, burning bright in the forest at night," that's William Blake. Blake, if you're not familiar with that, if you take a look at the picture, the one that looks like God with in a circle, I'm sure everybody's familiar with that because that picture has been reproduced and reused and rehashed all over the place. That's Edward Blake. To me, I think he's a great artist, great poet. And if I did fanzines for poetry, yes, I would look at his stuff and I would use it for inspiration. So I'm sure other folks have other inspirations. I would love to hear that too. Let's go to the next one. Unique fanzines. So unique fanzines, you could do a lot of fun and crazy things. Um, I like to do variant covers. So if you take a look on the picture there, you'll see there's six, a pink, yellow, purple, orange, green, and red. That's the same fanzine, but I did a variant covers. And one thing that I do the variant covers for is for the bands. So when a band goes, hey, yeah, here's your questions back. I always repay them back saying, okay, cool. I'll make a variant cover with your band on the cover. They love that. They love that. And they're like, oh, this is great. I always give them the PDF copy too. I'm like, go ahead and do whatever you want with it. It's yours. Push it out to the public. But variant copies, I think are cool. I also personally like different colored paper too. As you can see, I got different colors. White works always, but I think different color paper works great. we've already talked about collages, yours. Um, you could do a lot of fun things with collages. Screen printing, and what's funny is that one of my art teachers, he's a screen printer, and he's like, "Hey, Steve, would you ever want to do a screen printing, at least for the cover?" Haven't done it yet, but yes, that's something I would like to do. There's also cyanotype. I don't know if anybody's ever played around with cyanotype. Love it. A lot more work involved with it. It's not something that you can just hit the button and say print. It takes a lot more work in it, but maybe doing a cyanotype for a cover, it's unique and it's very different. Lino cut, linoleum cut. I love doing linoleum cut, lino, lino cuts, let's just call it that. That's some of the artwork that I do. So I haven't done that except for I've only done a small little Purple Passion, the little logo of mine, and that's all I've done. But would I do a cover for it? I think I would. Just haven't done that yet. I'm sure there's other fun, crazy puzzle things that people can create for their fanzines. But again, make it interesting, make it fun for the people that are reading your fanzine, and you'll have probably people coming back for your fanzine, especially if you make it really entertaining and unique. So let's go to the next one. This is my most expensive. Um, it's my third issue, and this is actually a punk scene that I've done. How often will I do this again? It's expensive. As you can see, the red is actually a flexi disc, and it's not cheap to do it, but it's super cool. That was about 800 bucks to do that with. It's super cool. So for that zine, I decided to do a 2 song on it, and it's one of my bands and a French band. So it was a combination. Um, and it's something that I've been wanting to do. I've been wanting to do since I'm a music lover. I've always wanted to do something with vinyl, and not quite vinyl. It's flexi, which is still in that realm, but um, this scene here, I'm still working on. This is the only one that I do collaboration with other people, um, which takes a little bit longer. My Purple Passion magazine, fanzine, that one I do myself. So this one's taking a lot longer. It's going on almost a year and a half or so, maybe almost going on 2 years, I think. But at least I got the flexis done, and looking forward to getting that one out there. That might take another 6 months or whatever. And once it's done, I don't know, Steve, if you want a copy of that for your library. Okay. Would you, what about the vinyl? Would you want the copy of that too? Okay. So you just gotta wait another maybe 6 months. But yes, you guys will have a copy of it. And again, it's not cheap to do that, but oh yeah, it's if in the world of zines for music, to do that plus the vinyl, the flexi, those sometimes can be really soft after. As long as the bands are cool, then they become soft after. Well, let's go to the next one. I haven't done this. I've taken a class in comics over last semester. And during the comic class, we were to make a mini, not necessarily a mini, but a mini comic. That was my comic, as you can see the picture there. It was something, we had to do something going to a museum and just goofing around. But I thought, this is cool because it's really, really cheap. You could do 1 page and make it 8 pages. And I will be doing this for my next scene. I'm just going to do a small one page, basically one page, but 8 pages in it. And it's not going to be the full zine. I'll probably put one page in there saying, if you are interested in more, it's like an introduction. Uh, see, go to this website or whatever in order to get the full zine. I haven't done that yet, but I am going to do that just because I think it's really cool. When I made this little comic zine, I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. It was small, uh, cheap, manageable. Um, but I think if you're looking to do a introduction for people, this is a cheap way to do it. Make it really small, really cheap, to the point that it's cheap enough that you can give it away as an introduction for people to come back and get your full zine. So I decided to add this, and then just again generating ideas for other folks that thinking, that might work. Um, so I haven't done this for my fanzine, but I will be doing it. So let's go to the next page. Fanzine events. We sort of talked about this on our last event. So I actually added the one that you guys were talking about. But now I live in Orange County, and just pretty much down the street at one of our local libraries, they have a fanzine event. Um, and I'm sure, Eva, you guys have yours too. Um, and also the one that I was going to try to go this year and I didn't was the LA Zine Fest. Did you go to that one? How was that one, by the way?
Oh yeah, I've been a co-organizer of LA Zine Fest for a couple years now. So our next one's gonna be next year in March. So everyone look, actually the applications open November 1st. So the coming up next week, you can apply to be one of the tablers, one of the zine makers at LA Zine Fest.
How hard is that to do? 'Cause you're the first one
Um,
I've been able to talk to about how is the process of getting your own booth?
if John's here, John knows too that it can be like 500 people apply for like 150 spots.
Wow.
So it can be sometimes, every organizer has a list of like 100 and they can pick 30. So, and the lists are like random. So depending on which organizer gets what list and what they kind of want to see, then you can. What do you think, John?
Yeah, that's LA Zine Fest. It's the most extreme, though, really, in terms of getting in. So there are a lot of other smaller Zine Fests where you get in if you apply, basically. There's one coming up just this weekend in Claremont called Over Here Zine Fest, and I think they still have spots open. So if
In Claremont,
you want, yeah, in Claremont. Uh-huh.
I'm
Um,
actually working with my printmaker in Claremont next weekend. I gotta put that
oh,
in.
no kidding. Yeah, it's going to be on Saturday. Um, let's see, on at the Benton Museum of Art in Pomona. So it's in coinciding with an art walk there. I actually keep a calendar of all the Zine Fests in Southern California. I'm posting, that's the link to it right there. If you go there and look, you'll see there's tons of opportunities if you want a table. If you want a table, there's a place for you to table. But and LA Zine Fest is one of the coolest Zine Fests on planet Earth. If you want to go for that, go for it. But don't be disappointed. Don't take it personal if you don't get in. That's
Yeah.
what I always tell people.
Now, if I did that, like the mini zine that and just handed those out, that's okay, right?
Yeah, people
Okay.
love that. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's one of the things I do want to try out. I was like, when I did my comic class, I was like, and what's great is my comic teacher was like, when I told him that I do fanzines, he was like, that's cool. And in fact, he bought one of my fans, my teacher. Right? Cool. But when he had us to do these like little mini comics, I was like, my brain went off. I'm like, this would be cool because it's really incredibly cheap. You know, just one page or two-sided to print, and it's something easy to just give out, and it's not going to cost me a bundle of money.
Yeah, yeah, people do that sometimes. Like I have my zines on my table, but I also have one zine, like exactly what you're talking about, that I give away for free, which is kind of like when people ask, "Do you have a card, business card?" I just give them my zine. You know, it's got a little bit of info on there about how to contact me. So you can do. There's like a billion different permutations, you know, how to use that idea. But you're right on track because a lot of people do that.
Cool. Let's go to the next slide because I know we're getting almost in the time. Really just a quick snap. I used to do 8.5 by 11, but this next issue I'm gonna actually do them half the size. One of the things that I do is I actually take my zines to London. There's an event, a mod event called Mods Mayday, and that's where I actually give them out, as well as there's a couple record companies I give them stacks of it. I'm like, have fun with them. Again, I don't do it really for the money. I just do it because it's something I can return back to my community of people who love the mod scene. And to me, it's just I get a kick out of seeing people like having my zine and looking at it because I'm like, that's what I'm doing it for. But I am going to start making them a smaller size because, and I even showed them to a couple of art friends. They actually like the smaller size versus the bigger size. Partly they said it's easier to put it in your pocket or your purse. And I was like, I'll keep that in mind, and I probably do the smaller size. Let's go to the next screen. Things to buy. Let's go. Um, oh, getting your fanzine out to the public. We sort of talked about that. Um, Zine events. I go to the places that people are fans of, which is the music events, and that's just getting your fanzines out there. Just go to the public. Go to the sites that your fans are part of that wherever community is. So they're hanging around zebras. Give them to the zebra people out there. So just hang out wherever the fans are and use that as your distribution point. Let's go to the next screen. Tools. The reason why I brought this up is going back to my teacher. I actually stapled mine to the point my teacher was like, that's horrible. You'll see that one tool that's one stapler that's super long. I just bought that. I haven't used it, so I'm looking forward to using that. And a good the the uh the bone binder thing, those things are great. If you haven't picked up one of those, pick one of those up. You can make beautiful creases. So stapling, I think, is important to make a nice presentation. So, and that comes from my comic teacher. And so I totally agree with them. So I bought that big stapler thing. It was only 13 bucks. I haven't used it, but I think it is a good investment. Let's go to the next screen. And that's it. And of course, that's me. Again, I'm a scooter with my fanzines all around. So again, hey, thanks for letting me rant and rave and talk about my zine. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that brought up a lot of questions. So, if John has any questions, like in the last 5 minutes, we'll ask questions. And so, I guess because it's international, the term is more fanzine, right? When you're in London, is that what they use more than zine?
Well, what's funny about that is they'll take the word zine, but they take the fan. So we actually call it modzine. So they've renamed it, and I've punk zine, they'll drop off the word fan and put what they're a fan of, and then zine. So you could do zebra zine.
Oh yeah, John put in the chat that yeah, in Latin America they call it fanzine. So yeah, I just went to the Zine Librarians Unconference and we had people from Puerto Rico and Mexico and even yeah, like Hong Kong. So more internationally they are fanzines. But they were saying like, why even call it Zine Librarians Unconference? That's making it too North American, that it should be fanzine conference or a different word, or just something more inclusive, because I guess the word zine is mostly used in the US. Is that right? I don't know.
But think of it, remember going back to the word context, magazine, and that's the reason why I'm a nerd, because I'm like, oh, where did that word come from? And it sort of hit me. I'm like, magazine, like, got it, I got it. And then I would love to know how and where they dropped mag and put fan in, so it became a fanzine. I didn't deal, with anything further. I just went top, you know, history of it. I'm sure there's somewhere out there that somebody has some really good history of when it first actually got titled as a fanzine. Maybe it was with that fanzine of Comet. I'm not sure, but according from what I surfacely, searched for, they said Comet was the first one back in 1930. Again, I'm a nerd. I like history, but
I wonder why we. I mean, for us, fanzine is a specific kind of zine. A zine that's for fans, and so if it's not a fanzine and it's like a poetry zine, why would you call it a fanzine? I mean, that's why I think we in North America started calling it just zines. And maybe I don't maybe like in Latin America everyone speaks Spanish, and so just fanzine is a term and they don't really think about the fact that fan means fanatic. uh, who knows? Big mystery. I can't remember if in like it seems like I've seen a couple of things on online, like there's a small publisher in the UK somewhere, and they call it zines. They aren't calling it fanzine. So they have like a little zine fair there, and so maybe it's just an English language thing that's causing this confusion.
yeah, I know for in the mod world, Star world, we just call them mods. So, and I know they have the zines, mod zines, all the way down in Australia. So, and they call it the same, a mod zine. And the punk side, I don't know if they generally always call it punk zine. That I don't know. But the one zine that I have for punks, it is just punks.
What year did you start? When was your first zine? What year was that?
Now I'm dating myself. I'm an old person. Um, Probably 80, maybe.
Okay, so that's yeah, very well established zine, because my last week at Palisades Library, I had your flyer out with your images of your purple zine that you're coming to
Cool.
Zine Club. And a patron came up to me, like a library user came up to me and said, I know this zine. I know that image. I follow that person. I've seen that before. And they're also like a mod collector and they have the scooter. They, they're part of that group. So I was like, oh, really? Okay, well, come to the Zine Club. So they know you, well, your work. So, and they said, I've also made zines. I've made mod zines and scooter zines also. And I said, oh, you should come talk in the future as well. And I have their info somewhere, but I have to find it. But so yeah, they know you. You're known.
That's cool. I'm
Very cool.
international. Yeah, it's again, I do it when I was a little kid, way back when, but when I was a kid, actually they had zines out there and I was like collecting whatever I can get for free basically. And it's something that now I can actually return back and part of it is that I like the music, I like the genre, and you know, some it helps turn somebody into the I like this music, I like that look. And that's one of the reasons why I do it. It's like maybe somebody else will carry on the legacy of the music, the genre. So that's one of the reasons why I done it. And again, for the I don't really do it for the money part, uh, just the fun of it. So, and actually, one of my friends in London, basically, actually two friends who actually have record companies, I just give it to them, and I'm like, have at it. Um, Sell it, put it in your own um, put it back into the money and of making more records. Because as long as they can continue making records, that's good. Because I'm not going to make enough money to pay my mortgage, but I can make enough to be satisfied and content and have fun at it. But
Well, thank you, Steve. Yeah, for sharing your history. And I learned a lot about music zines, fanzines, punk zines. It's really nice to see the plexiglass vinyl, and I'm looking forward to that in 6 months.
and you can have the PowerPoint, go ahead and reuse it, rehash it, for anything else that we want to do with it.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
so I don't have any license for it. But I know I'm going to be using it for this coming Wednesday for the art community. My friend goes, "Hey, can you do that?" Sure. I go, "Let me see how it goes on Monday, and then I'll present." I was only my main thing is I was worried that I was not going to go through it really, really quick, and I'm like, 10 minutes later, okay, anybody have questions? But I think I put enough PowerPoints in there just to space it out just the right amount of time.
Oh, great information. And that's our hours. So we'll not keep everyone, and we'll have it online later to even spread it to all your fans in the UK and all the whole world. So, and thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your October, and see you next month. I believe our next one is November 25th. So yeah, we had the cat zines last month, mod zines, fanzines this month, music zines, and next month I have someone that's a Spanish speaker, comics, art presenter. So it's a Monday, November 25th. So
Cool.
if you're all available, hope to see you then. And thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.